Hi everyone, welcome to Rike Sports and our Formula One show. Here with Ollie from F1 Global. Hi Ollie, how are you?
Good mate, how you doing?
Good, thank you. So as we normally do, we've got a race to review. Unfortunately, it's the last race of the season, so the next show we won't have a race to review. But yeah, for this show, we got that last race in Abu Dhabi to review. There's not really much to talk about with it. Quite well, our predictions were way off. So like everyone was kind of surprised with that. But yeah, it was an amazing performance from Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Easy win for him. What was your thoughts on that?
I mean, a bit of a shame to end the season on that race. Very boring, but Max, a purely dominant performance. Led every lap, I think,
Yeah.
and just pole to win. So, I mean, yeah, really great. Hopefully, it will set Red Bull up for next year. You know, they've come out since then. They've started talking again like they do every season. Um, but whether they'll be able to break the dominance that are the Silver Arrows, we will have to wait and see. But yeah, you know, solid race to end the season on, I guess. Superb race for Max. Lewis coming back really did look affected. I mean, did you see him on the podium afterwards? Like he could seemingly barely stand up at points, poor bloke. And another P2 sort of from Bottas. So things sort of felt normal. Hamilton on the podium, Max on the podium, and Bottas in P2. So yeah, it's sort of a normal way to end the season. What do you think for Red Bull next season? Are they going to challenge? Prediction?
Yeah, it's a
Challenge or not?
difficult one. It's a difficult one. So, we were saying afterwards it come out that Mercedes had their engines turned down for this race. And as we were discussing earlier, the drivers didn't even know about that, and we're not too sure. They do a lot of sandbagging as well, as we know. Like they don't let each other know about exactly what's going on and what's in the pipeline. They talked about Mercedes had stopped developing this 2020 car a couple of months back, and they'll be concentrating on the 2021 car as well. There's not that many regulation changes, but so it's a difficult one to call. I just hope that Red Bull can at least give him some sort of fight, so we see some sort of title challenge next season. But more realistically, it's going to be 2022, where I think they should really tighten the field up. I think hopefully Ferrari will come into it by then as well. Aston Martin hopefully as well. Renault, I've seen the testing. Alonso was at the testing last week, the last couple of days after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And it's nice to see him back in Formula One. He topped the timesheets on the day he was testing. And yeah, so I think realistically 2022 is going to be that really competitive season, as we were discussing before as well about the cars overtaking. It's so difficult at the moment with where the cars are. They're hoping to change that for 2022 with the new regulations. So let's hope we see a really good championship battle then. If we see it next year, that's great. If Rebel can do it, or if Valtteri Bottas can step up and give Lewis Hamilton a bit of a
Bottas
challenge as well.
6.0 now, isn't it? Did you hear the commentators taking the mickey out of him as well in free practice? I felt so bad for him. I'm not a hater, but yeah, I mean, how many times has he been saying Bottas version point whatever? Get him out of the car, get Russell in, just try it. Ugh.
So we're gonna do our end of season picks now, and when I was looking through the results, Hamilton's won 11 races, and Bottas won 2. That is just a complete walkover. Like it shouldn't be that easy for in an elite team. I believe. All right, you have a number 1, 2 driver and a number 2 driver. That does happen quite often, but you'd expect more of your number 2 driver. And there's been opportunities for Bottas. It's not like Hamilton's been completely flawless for the whole season. He's had a few races where he's not been so strong, but Bottas hasn't been able to take advantage. So it's not good. We'd much rather see. Lewis himself says he wants to be challenged. He always talks about wants to be challenged. So I think if Bottas could raise his game and give him more of a challenge next year, that would bring out an even better Lewis Hamilton as well, and we'll see even better performances from him.
Which is terrifying. You
Exactly.
saying an even better version of Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton.
exactly.
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah,
But you're 100% correct. I mean, we won't dwell on it any further, but the Eiffel Grand Prix is a perfect example. Bottas in the lead, Lewis behind, and, Bottas just made a silly mistake that you wouldn't expect from, the likes of maybe Verstappen, obviously Hamilton, even Ricardo, or Leclerc, where he just locked up super heavy into turn 1 just because of the pressure. So, I mean, we'll wait and see, but I don't think he'll be winning many awards this season with Bottas, but we'll see what he can do next year.
So let's go into the end of season awards then. So we're likely to go for quite a lot of similar things. So I'll start with the first one. So driver of the season. Okay. Now he has broke so many records this year, right? and I have to give it to Lewis. There's been some other good performances from other drivers, but I just think Lewis, even though he's not been pushed, he's just been so in control. I just like the way that he's so consistent with, like, makes very little mistakes. You know, if you look at it, even though he's had a couple of bad races here and there, in general, he's more or less, whenever had the car, the circumstances, he sticks it on pole, cruises around in the front, doesn't really have any incident. As we're saying, you know, when you see Bottas in the lead, he's under pressure from Hamilton behind him. When Lewis is in the lead, I don't really see Bottas pressuring him or anyone else. Lewis is really good at controlling the pace, and he's proved it. He's won 11 races. He's had a few hat tricks as well of getting pole, fastest lap, and race win, being as dominant as ever. Won it by over 100 points. That's an unbelievable performance to do that. Like I say, along with 11 race wins, breaking the records as well. The records he broke this year, equaled Michael Schumacher's record of world titles, surpassed his record of race wins. Phenomenal performance that, you know. So I'm going for Lewis Hamilton. I know it's a bit of a boring one, a bit easy. Like most people would pick that one, but I just think he's just done so well. And even though some other drivers have performed well, there's not been like a newcomer coming that's done really well to merit me maybe giving the award to them. So for me, it's Lewis Hamilton. How about yourself?
I put Lewis in sort of his own award category where he wins everything. So I've tried to think a little bit differently.
Okay.
I was torn between two actually, and it was between Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez for me. Both of those guys have done outstandingly well in their, you know, respective cars, but I've gone with Sergio Perez. You know, funnily enough, yet again, not a young driver, not an up and coming maybe driver, but you know, the season he's had in that car has been phenomenal. Real shame that he missed 2 races because of COVID, because I really think he could have maybe challenged Max a little bit more for the third in the Drivers' Championship. But, you know, getting his first win, getting, you know, podiums, should have gotten a podium in Imola, but he didn't. So, yeah, I've gone with Sergio Perez. But you're 100% correct about Lewis. You know, Lewis is the driver of the season. It's a simple matter of fact. But for my pick, I've gone for Sergio Perez, with Daniel Ricciardo sort of in a close behind, because he's had, for me, quite an underrated season, actually. And I'm really excited to see what he can do with a Mercedes engine in McLaren next year. So that'll be one to look out for. But yeah, Sergio Perez for me. Now, next category is the up-and-coming driver of the season. Bit difficult to think of. I'm trying to think sort of long-term with this one. And I was torn between a couple of names, but one stuck out to me, actually, and it was Lando Norris. You know, I think the growth he's shown throughout this season has been huge. He's definitely one to watch for next year. Bit worried with Ricardo alongside him. I've said that before. Ricardo could put him in his place. But, yeah, Lando Norris. I mean, he got his podium. First race of the season. He's got a couple of fastest laps, I think, and he's just been really consistent, and that's what McLaren need, and that's how they got P3 in the championship. So that's who I've gone with. How about yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking of Lando. I looked at him, and he's had a good season. He did have not get that close to Carlos Sainz in the points department, you know. So, but that's difficult. We know Sainz is a really good driver, very consistent. So, I've actually gone for one back. Look, I just, if you base it on his qualifying alone, right, George Russell was undefeated again all season to his team, apart from what happened with Bottas. But even what he done there with Bottas, he lost by such a small margin, and he's really consistent. Like, he's not getting to show it in the season because of the Williams car, but when he had the chance in the Mercedes, he went on to show that he is the real deal, and he has that pace. It's not just because the drivers next to him are poor. Because Bottas, as we know, is a good driver. He's not world class like Hamilton, but he's a very good driver. And for him to come back close to beating him in qualifying, and then in the race, he had comfortably the advantage over him. You know, better start, and then just controlled the race, showed a real mature performance. So I'm not basing it just on that race, but that race just really, for me, pushed it to another level to show that this is really the real deal. He's so good in qualifying, never been beaten by a teammate at Williams, which is some hell of a record. You know, that to be that consistent. And then, yeah, he in the race as well, he got the fastest lap there. And if it wasn't for Mercedes mess up with the tyres, he was going to win that race. So I think he is the best up-and-coming driver, and I really want to see him in a Mercedes. I think we have to wait till 2022 for that. But, yeah, again, hopefully next year he'll have a another consistent year of Williams, get a bit more experience. So when he does jump into the Mercedes in 2022, he'll be even more ready. And I think it'll be really nice to see him as Hamilton's teammate. And yeah, that's my pick for that one. What's your
Definitely
thought?
can't argue with, what is he, 38-0 against Williams' teammates in qualifying. So, yeah, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, really, some performance. So then, yeah, after that, constructor of the year. So now this was a difficult one. Again, like the obvious choice is Mercedes, all right? And like that was decided after the first race. We just knew how dominant the car was. I remember going into the season, I saw the performance during testing, and they were looking scary, and they were coming with these new advancements as they always do. The new advancements, they come with the steering wheel managing to control the tires and to heat them up. What do they call that innovation?
DAS.
Yeah,
It's just, it's amazing how just doing this made millions of people transfixed with that.
Yeah, it's
so,
amazing. They're really, the way they develop their cars, and they're just taking it to a whole new level, and so consistent. Again, they won another constructors championship. We talk about the achievements of Lewis, but they're breaking records as well. Huge records they're breaking. That record for Ferrari, what looked like no one would beat that, but Mercedes are coming and beat it, and I think they'll probably extend it next season as well. So yeah, so Mercedes are the constructor of the year, no doubt about it. But talking about, as you're saying, so trying to see like what others have done, I think Racing Point have had a solid year. Now again, it's a tricky one because you would say they've copied last year's Mercedes. So Mercedes have played a big part again. They've got a Mercedes engine as well, so it's heavily involved with Mercedes to pick them as well. But I think they've had a really good season. It's good to see them doing so well. It's a team that went through a lot of trouble, as we see what happened, all the controversy with them. So it's nice to see them doing so well. And I've gone for them. They did do well. Unluckily for them, what happened in the last race, the problems that Perez had, and Stroll didn't have a strong race. We lost out to McLaren for that best of the rest behind the Mercedes and Red Bull. But I think they had a very strong season, had their first race win. And with what's happening with them next season as well, Aston Martin coming in, that's a big name. And I think they could be going on Seb going in as well, driving for them. So I think they can be looking for bigger and better things in the future. So I've gone for Racing Point as my constructor of the year. How about yourself?
I can't argue with that too much. I mean, you think they've had both of their main drivers miss out 2 races each. They had the 15-point deduction, and you're right, they narrowly missed out on third. Sorry. I am actually going for the third place team. I'm going for McLaren, purely because they are the 4th fastest car, but they came third. And to me, everything else sat right in that table. Mercedes are the fastest, Red Bull are the 2nd fastest, but McLaren aren't the 3rd fastest. But it's just their consistency. And both Sainz and Norris had a run of about 3 races each where they didn't score. So to me, that sort of evens it out with drivers missing races and the points deduction. But it's just their sheer consistency that they've managed to maintain throughout the season that I've got to give it to them. We think about McLaren 10, 12, 13 years ago. And, McLaren Mercedes, obviously, that then just being that top team, battling with Ferrari, and just how far they fell, from 2013, 14 onwards, just to see them this far up again, it's just an absolute joy, actually, as a fan. So, gone with McLaren. 2 reasons, that consistency, and the other one is just the recovery that they've made over the past couple of years. But I can't argue with Racing Point. I think maybe actually it should be a shared award, to be honest, because both don't deserve it more than the other. So yeah, I have to agree with you on that as well. But speaking of Racing Point and getting their first pole position of the year, next award, I feel this could be a similar one, but I'm going with Lewis, 2nd race of the season, the Styrian Grand Prix, absolutely hammering it down. I think the wettest qualifying I've ever seen, and he put it on pole by 1.2 seconds, which is just insane. And I don't think there's much more you can say than that, really, that he was untouchable, and he proved that he is the reign master. I know that name belongs to Michael Schumacher, but there is someone else who could definitely take that crown, and he is also a 7 times world champion. So, I looked through a load of pole position laps for this, but none of them stood out like that. So, yeah, how about you? I feel it could be the same.
Yes, it is. It has to be a phenomenal performance. I remember watching it. So the first race has just happened. You remember Bottas won that one. You know, so coming into this race now, and the forecast wasn't good. They were talking about Verstappen. We know Verstappen's had some strong performances in the rain, and I felt they kind of forgot about how strong Lewis is. You know, I felt like, you know, obviously Max is the new guy coming in, and recent times he's had some good performances in the rain, but Lewis is the master. You've seen what he's done. Silverstone, that race, he won by like nearly a minute or sake. Like
20 minutes, didn't he? Yeah.
like it's like, come on, like he's just on a different level, and he just really laid down a marker for me. That was it. Like, I was just like, I remember watching it live, and I was just there, and just it's like you're literally a jaw dropping. Like what 1.2 seconds? It's like it was phenomenal. He's just on another planet. Like he's done it a few times in like them laps he talks about. You know, there's one in Singapore where he just said,
last year, wasn't it?
yeah, you remember where he just said, yeah, it was last year, but yeah, the one where Ferrari were looking like the favourites to get the pole, you remember? And he just pulled a lap out of like from nowhere. It was just unbelievable. And this was another one where he's in the fastest car we know, but there's sometimes laps that are just extraordinarily good, that they're just better than the average driver could do, or even a world-class driver like Bottas or Verstappen. And that was it, you know, just another example of why he's so good. That, you know, every season he tends to put out a couple of laps out of that you just don't see that you think another driver's capable of. I think you're right. Schumacher in the rain, he was known to be that good. Verstappen as well. He's still got it to prove though. Let's see what he does in the coming years in them conditions. But yeah, definitely, I've got to give it to Lewis as well. Have to. That was an amazing. Literally, it made my jaws drop. I just couldn't believe what I saw when it flashed up 1.2 seconds. Amazing.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, then next award we've got after that is Race of the Year. So this is what the award for what we thought was the most fun race to watch as fans. So that one, I've gone for the Turkish Grand Prix. I think it was one hell of a race. It was like you didn't know what was going to happen. It was obviously a shock pole position there with Lance Stroll taking pole. The grid was completely different to what we're used to. The Mercedes were way down from their normal pole and locking out the front row. So it was one of them races where you didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And the eventual race winner in the first half of the race, he was nowhere to be seen. Like Lewis, we were like thinking there's no way he's going to win from. He was down in fifth and struggling with the tyres. And it was looking like Verstappen was probably the most likely winner, if not the racing points to hold on. But then Lewis, once he got them tyres in and got his rhythm around that track, he was untouchable. He just went on to win it easily in the end. Another masterclass by him. But it was just the whole race in general, like just a lot of things happening. And I just thought it was a really fun race to watch. What about yourself?
Yeah, I have to add on that as well. It was nice to be back at an old track as well.
Yes.
It was like seeing an old friend, you know, turn 8 at Turkey, and just these new cars. It was brilliant to see them sort of sweep around there. It's hard to argue against that, but I'm stuck between 2 Italian races. One is Monza, just for the Pierre Gasly win, you know, complete madness on that podium. But I think maybe from an entertainment factor and it being a different track, I've gone with Mugello. I absolutely loved that track. You know, it was something about watching it that just had me just glued to the screen. So just the undulation of the track, just the way that sort of you just watching the cars. Obviously, it had the big incident at the restart, and it had the Lance Stroll incident as well. It had some good overtakes. So yeah, I've gone with Mugello. But definitely, I mean, I think it could be a shared award, really. You know, Mugello, Monza, Turkey. Even sort of the first Austrian Grand Prix you could maybe put in there just for those last couple of laps. The second Austrian Grand Prix. There are so many to choose from this year, but the out and out for me is Mugello. Sounds bad, it's because of a crash, but I think just that combined with the madness and some of the overtakes just lifted above anything else, and it's what sticks out in my mind this season. So yeah, linking to your one though in the Turkish Grand Prix, best drive in a race, and I'm going to give my first Lewis Hamilton award. It is Turkey. It is for finishing 30 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, despite starting down the grid, despite being on the dustiest, wettest, weirdest track I think I've ever seen. But for just simply what drive. I mean, he showed, and we can talk about this till the cows come home, what a different class of driver he is in those sorts of conditions. You know, just think about like Leclerc just making a silly mistake, Max making a mistake as well. You know, both spinning, both losing out on potentially either a winning drive or a podium position. So yeah, I've got to go for this. Finishing 30 seconds ahead of the next driver, turning intermediate tyres essentially into slicks as well. So that was unbelievable, showing that tyre management. And yeah, just, combined obviously with everything else that went on that weekend, I think it just sort of really made him stand out even more. Also equaling the win record. Well, no, getting his title, sorry, that race. So yeah, I mean, it was sort of the perfect race for him. So yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Like, it just sticks out. There was some good performances, you know, all throughout the year, but that one just really stuck out. And as you say, it was in such a big occasion where he equaled Michael Schumacher's record. It was a race where he didn't really need to win the race to do that. He would have racked up the title even if he finished down in third, fourth, fifth, whatever, because Bottas was so far behind. And again, that helped to even further make it show
Yeah, he
how
lapped Bottas, didn't he?
he let
God.
his teammate. Like, he just showed he's another level, and breathtaking. You said it all already. Like, it really was. Everything about that performance was just amazing. Definitely deserves the drive of the season, race drive of the season for that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I
yeah,
was trying to think of some others for that. I sort of thought about Perez maybe, obviously getting his win, but nothing really stood out. I did think even maybe Daniel Ricardo at Imola, but I maybe did those just trying not to give Lewis an award because he's got every other award that I could possibly give him. But yeah, it's got to be that.
for sure. So yeah, it was a good season. Got to say, like, it started late. We didn't know what was going to happen, what it was like, how many races they were going to get in, but they done really well. Got a full program in, more or less. You could say 17 races is close to having a full calendar in. So that was really impressive to get that done, and it was good viewing. As much as we say Mercedes were dominant and we want more teams to challenge them, we did get some good races in there that were good to watch, and some shock results through the season, some standout performances. What was your thoughts on the season in general?
I think it's one of the best in recent memory. I think the last great season we had was 2012 when it was, Vettel, Alonso, Hamilton, Button. Anybody could have really won the title that season. I think this is the nearest we've had to that great season. It's a shame it happened, or it had to happen the way it did, obviously because of COVID. But yeah, what a absolutely amazing season. And I think it's going to be really good for fans as well, because it's taken us away from some tracks that we're so used to seeing, and it's going to give us a nice reset for next year. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a shame as well, though. We're not going to see some of these tracks back, but I'm so grateful we've had this season. It's been unbelievable. So yeah, bring on another year of Mercedes dominance before the next regulation changes. But yeah, we'll wait and see. And we're getting, obviously, other drivers back as well. So Alonso's coming back. So maybe we'll see another great season and see what he can pull out the bag.
Yeah, for sure. So long calendar for next season as well. Just read today, 23 races confirmed. So
Too many.
yeah, it's a long season. Like, it'll be good though to see how it goes. Hopefully they'll have the crowds back as well. And also there's some new drivers coming in as well. Speaking of the last show, there's Mick Schumacher. There's the news announced today about the Japanese driver coming in for AlphaTauri.
Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda's in. I mean, it's been the worst kept secret in F1 for quite a while now. But yeah, really excited to see what he can do, actually. Really being touted as a big talent. Possibly a shame he's in the Red Bull system, because he could be in that second Red Bull car next week, possibly. And we've seen what it's done to Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon. So, hopefully they'll keep him at AlphaTauri for a little bit. But he's a little pocket rocket. I mean, he is small as well. He's 5'3". He's a very small bloke, but he is really fast. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shame we have missed out on some, one or two drivers coming in. Missed out on Callum Ilott, who's a really good talent in F2. Obviously, we've had Nikita Mazepin in for Haas, and we've had all of the issues with that. We're not going to go into it, but hopefully Tsunoda can, balance out that good and bad that we're going to see. But yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting fight for Rookie of the Year, because Schumacher and Mazepin and Tsunoda, it'll be interesting to see if people favour the name or if people favour a talent. So we'll have to wait and see. I will say, though, bit of a shame for Danny Kvyat. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. Like, I'm a big fan of Kvyat. I think a team will be very sensible to snap him up as a reserve driver. COVID will still be a thing next season. We've seen how valuable Nico Hülkenberg is, and snapping up someone like Kvyat will be a big name to have. So yeah, what are your thoughts? You sad to see him go? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's sad to see him go. Like, I think he's been a good driver. You know, he, unfortunately for him, you know, the whole Red Bull thing and how that went down. You know, it's happened to a few of them now. You know, so unfortunate for him. The one that I'm really sad to see that it seems that he's not going to get a seat now is Perez. He's been really a good driver for many years, and he's just a great character to have around. Always like watching him being interviewed, and very positive person. So it's sad. It seems like he's not going to get the seat now. You heard any more? Have any confirmations coming out about what Red Bull are going to do?
I mean, who knows? There are rumours that Red Bull are going to sign him. We're going to hear this week. There are rumours that, you know, they're going to keep Albon. There's Perez's brother posting Instagram stories with a Red Bull can. So God knows what's going to happen. I do think they'll sign him. I think despite Albon having a strong end to the season, you know, especially with that fourth place in Abu Dhabi, you know, it seems like from more people are saying they're going to move him into that reserve driver role and the test driver role and bring Perez in on a 1-year contract. So yeah, I mean, it may not be the last we see of him ever in Formula One, because, you know, in 2022 someone's going to come in and get him. I'm very certain of that. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I think it's more, I think 80-20 he's with Red Bull than not. I'm pretty confident they're going to sign him. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So like, there's a lot of changes. We're saying like Mercedes engine in the McLaren now, and Ricardo coming in. Okay, then the Ferrari situation with Sainz coming into parking up with Leclerc. You'd hope Ferrari makes some progress from what happened this year. It's a disaster of a season for them.
Please make progress.
Yeah, we really need them to turn the corner. And then yeah, like the Aston Martin with Sebastian Vettel there, how that all goes. So like it's great. Renault with Alonso. So there's a lot of unknowns for next season. It's gonna be really interesting to see building into that 2022 season where we're gonna see all the rule changes. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Got a little bit of a break now, so testing gets underway in February. They're saying there's only a day and a half of testing for next season.
Yeah, they've cut it all down. So yeah, I think it's a bit silly. We need more testing. I mean,
You need to give the teams the chance to really get their cars tuned up and ready for the season start. So I don't know why they've done that, but yeah. So February's testing, and then it all gets underway again in March. So we've got a few months break now, but we're going to be meeting up again soon. We're going to be doing some reviews of seasons from the past. So definitely, please keep it here. And Ollie, thank you so much for your time.
That's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me, mate.
So please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.